Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Bright and this is the Bright Show podcast, boxing. And guys, we need to have an open and honest conversation about Joseph Parker. Where is Joseph Parker? What is going on with Joseph Parker? What is the status of the investigation about Joseph Parker's failed drugs test? What is the status on a B sample? There is so many questions to ask about this, right? And I think it's best that we have a conversation about this because I am quite interested to know what you guys think about what actually is going on with Joseph Parker. Because as you know, it was reported after the Fabi Wardley fight that Joseph Parker failed a drugs test, right? And of course, Parker came and he had something to say about it. And on Instagram, he put up a post and he said that, he did not take any prohibited substances and that he does not use performance enhancing drugs and he does not support their use either, right? And that's a good statement to put out. But since then, we haven't heard anything about the B sample, which was meant to come out, right? And normally the B sample sort of confirms what the A sample revealed. And so far, there's nothing, right? There's no status on when Joseph Parker is coming back. If he is going to be banned, there should be status, there should be news about him being banned and and that when that ban will be lifted for him to come back. But recently I saw an article, I believe, which was quite hopeful, and as you can see there on your screen from the post, it says that hopes Kiwi boxer Joseph Parker will be cleared after positive drug test in London, right? So once again, what's going on? Where is Parker? What is the status here? What's going on? Because let's be honest, the heavyweight division is taking shape in 2026. We're already in January. We know that Tyson Fury is returning to boxing. And according to reports, he will be fighting someone like Aslanbek Makhmudov, which is a decent fight for Tyson Fury. We know that Derek Chisora and Deontay Wilder have basically signed to fight, and that fight is going to happen somewhere in London in April this year. We know that Daniel Dubois, surprisingly, has returned back to Don Charles, and they're looking to train. And according to reports, which I talked about on this channel, Daniel Dubois will be fighting Zhile Zhang next if that fight happens, right? Things are happening. We know that Anthony Joshua, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with him, if he's going to come back or not, right? Things are happening around the heavyweight division. And, Joseph Parker's contemporaries are trying to get the next fight on. So what is happening with Parker? Is he, is his career in doubt? Is he out of the picture? Because I was one of those people on this channel, and you can go back and look at all my videos about Joseph Parker. I have campaigned and advocated for Joseph Parker getting his title shot against Alexander Usyk, because I truly believe that if Parker had beat Fabi Wardley, that I believe that Alexander Usyk would have honored his word and would have fought Joseph Parker. And unfortunately, Parker could not do it because Fabi Wardley was the much sharper, fresher, younger fighter, and it showed on the night that Fabi Wardley was very serious about his chances in the heavyweight division, and he took his opportunity and he beat Joseph Parker. So, it is only right that we ask the question, where is Joseph Parker? What is happening with Joseph Parker? If he's going to get to ban, then he should get a ban and we should know about it. If the B sample is, reflecting the A sample, then we should know about it, right? And Joseph Parker should know where he stands, because I think, boxing, heavyweight boxing is great when Joseph Parker is in there, because over the years, Joseph Parker has given, us boxing fans some really good fights. And I think he's a decent fighter, but we need to know where he's at, because if he doesn't get to fight Usyk, which is not going to happen, because, if anything, he should get a rematch with Fabi Wardley, right? Joseph Parker, if it wasn't for this drug test, I believe he would have pushed for a rematch with Fabi Wardley. And now that Fabi Wardley has the WBO belt as a champion, I think is a worthy fight to have between Joseph Parker and Fabi Wardley. But that is not going to be in the picture because Parker still or we need to know about the status of this investigation and where Joseph Parker, sits with that. But look, I am quite keen to understand if you guys know any news about this, because according to a lot of you guys and with a lot of people that I've spoken with about this situation, some of you actually believe that Joseph Parker was set up by the people in boxing. Like, genuinely, some people really believe. And if you are one of those people that believe that there's something fishy about Joseph Parker failing a drugs test after he lost to Fabi Wardley, then get in the comment section and let me know if you're one of those people, because I don't have enough evidence to say that there's something fishy, but some of you do. And I'm happy to have a conversation about that, because if there's nothing fishy about this situation, why have we not had any news, any status, right? Anything about Joseph Parker being banned or him serving a ban, or when the ban ends and when he comes back to boxing? Because I'm sure Joseph Parker still believes that he's got a future in boxing. And I'm sure he still believes that, he's got something to give in boxing. So we should get something, right? We should hear something about this situation. And Joseph Parker, should return back to boxing. As I said, Parker remains adamant that he did not take any drugs, and that he does not endorse people using drugs in boxing. And I think those in New Zealand and people around Joseph Parker, as we saw in this post here, that these guys are hopeful that Joseph Parker will return back to boxing, and that his name will be cleared about the drugs test. So I think it's about time, because the heavyweight division, as I said, is taking shape, and Joseph Parker needs to know what he's doing in order to know where he stands, because I think there's some really good fights in the division for Joseph Parker, right? The Daniel Dubois fight is still a fight that could happen, because I think Daniel Dubois pulled out of that fight because they knew the threat that Joseph Parker would pose, right, before the Usyk Dubois fight. You've got, as I mentioned, Fabi Wardley rematch is also on the table. Joseph Parker versus Agit Caballero. If Caballero cannot get a fight, that would be a good fight to have. Joseph Parker versus Makhmudov, that could be a good fight, right? Mosley Tama versus Joseph Parker, even that could still be a very good fight to have, because I don't think Joseph Parker is done yet. But the way things are going, I feel like his future in boxing is a little bit in doubt, because if Parker could not get the opportunities with Frank Warren, by the way, when he was supposedly, not using drugs, now that he's been, tested positive, right, for using drugs, right? Is he going to get the opportunities that he didn't get before this test? That is the question I always ask myself. Is Joseph Parker going to get the opportunities now that they've deemed him that he's failed the drug test? Is he going to get the same opportunities? I don't think so. If he didn't get those opportunities before with Frank Warren, I don't think he's going to get the opportunities now. So look, I am a bit concerned about Joseph Parker and what is happening with Joseph Parker right now in his career, because I think there's something going on here, and maybe the truth needs to come out so some of his fans and people in boxing can understand what is going on. But if you guys have any idea as to what is going on, what his status is he serving a ban? Is he not serving a ban? Is he fighting? Is he not fighting? Get in the comment section and let me know.